is yeah, this of course this is a good question, but this is actually I think it's a tricky one. I would need um, to meditate to kind of answer this, and I don't know if I would have the answer right away.
Yeah, no
So
problem. So,
yeah, maybe for another time.
yeah, sure. Okay, so nevertheless, I would say, Mehdi, welcome to the show, and it's a pleasure to start a very nice conversation with you about, yeah, your journey into strength training, weightlifting, and so on. And I hope we will learn lots of golden nuggets from your experience. Yeah, welcome. Bonjour,
Yeah,
Mehdi.
Bernd, my friend.
Okay,
Guten Tag.
yeah, guten Tag. So, okay, let's start right away with the first question I have for you is, so what was the story and your journey that, yeah, led you into strength training and weightlifting? So tell us how all this happened.
So how yeah so I was almost 13 years old, 12, 13, and at that time my father's best friend was president of a weightlifting club in France. And my friend was a little more aged than me. And yeah, on Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday at all in France, we had no school at that time. So, young boys, teenager, they can easily start to make disturbances. And so his father said, "Hey, yeah, just go to the lifting room and yeah, get in shape and just don't do don't do the bad stuff and yeah, just don't stay in the street. Do this better than doing anything else." And actually, I went with him and I liked it, which can sound strange for a very young boy. Normally, the young people are much more attracted by stuff like football, soccer, or basketball, stuff like this. And actually, I really liked it, and I started to be quite good because I competed in a national level, and yeah, so I progressed very fast, and I think I was kind of built for this kind of sports, physically, and maybe the shape of the body. My legs are slightly arched, and yeah, I'm not super tall. I'm mid. I would say mid size. So yeah, I had probably some quality for this sport. And yeah, I practiced for maybe 4 or 5 years, and then because of I was in an apprenticeship of electricity, and I had to move to quit the city where I lived, and then I just stopped the sport, every sport, and yeah, at the time, teenage years, you start to follow girls and to party a little bit. So I just stopped, quit everything, and yeah. So and then after that, I worked in electricity for 5 years, and then I came back to sports university to get a degree in sports science, and I wanted to practice again Olympic lifting because yeah, it's very useful to prepare athletes in almost every field. So yeah, this is how it started, and yeah.
So would you say that weightlifting found you, or you found weightlifting?
Uh-huh. This is a great question. And actually, even in sports science university, we had this discussion already. The question was, do you do a sport that you are built for, or do you build your body step by step because you do a sport? And uh, my answer would be you find a sport because you're built for it. You're more built for it, or you have more ability to practice this sport. For example, if you're super short, basketball will be more difficult. But there are short guys. It's possible, but uh, it's much more difficult to perform in that kind of sport.
Mm-hmm. So,
And same for weightlifting. So I would say that, I don't know, maybe it's a kind of double attraction. You find a sport because it attracted you, but it's maybe more a metaphysical question.
okay. So that means you tend to do a sport that you're naturally built for, or you're attracted, and you find this one intuitively attractive. So let's say if you have good genetics for building muscle, you maybe go into bodybuilding and stuff like that. Or if you're more built for strength, you do a sport where strength is more important, or let's say components are more important, like in, I don't know, gymnastics or track and field and short put or something like that. So it's a
Yeah.
reciproc thing.
I do think so. For example, if you look at long distance runner, um, okay, oftentimes they do this since young age and so, but their body shape is not like super heavy, big bones, and so they are generally thin people and small, quite light, so they don't have a lot of weight to move, so they can endure for a very long period of time.
Mm.
So yeah, I think your genetics then give you some advantages, and when you find a sport that uses those advantages, you feel better, and you feel that you can actually do something good in that field. So you are automatically more attracted to it.
Mm. And what would you say is your main work? Would you consider yourself being, first of all, a strength coach or a Olympic weightlifting coach? Because I think to some degree, every Olympic weightlifting coach is a strength coach, but not every strength coach is also a Olympic weightlifting coach.
That's true. That's a really good. This is a really good question. Yeah, automatically, Olympic weightlifting is a sport of strength. So you have to squat, you have to lift, you have to train in the weight room. So automatically, you have to develop a skill as to be a good coach. And then those principles you can apply for other sports. So yes, our weightlifting coach is more has more chance to be a strength coach, but a strength coach is not necessarily, and oftentimes not an Olympic weightlifting coach. So for myself, I, it's actually I've thought about it before, but I would say that yeah, I'm a strength coach with Olympic love or Olympic weightlifting specialty. I would say because this was my sports first, but I was an athlete at that time. I was not coach. And when I did my degree in sports science, I learned physical strength trainings to prepare any kind of athlete. So I would say that my main background is strength training, and on top of this, specialty in Olympic weightlifting.
Mm-hmm. So I ask with another question in my mind because from your experience and expertise, I mean, in times where we have lots of Olympic weightlifting stuff that is now in mainstream training, especially in CrossFit and everything that is labeled as functional now, pretty much everyone seems to do Olympic weightlifting. But what is from your experience and expertise, how can you distinguish if you have no background in training for yourself? How could you distinguish if the guy that is telling you or giving you some advice is actually a good weightlifting coach or Olympic weightlifting coach, or a bad one?
Well, the first thing, the the first thing is to spot a bad one. So if you see someone teaching the Olympic weightlifting to a newbie and he makes him start from the bottom, you know this is a shitty coach. Yeah, in Olympic weightlifting, you never ever start from the bottom. You have to learn the arm mechanic and the hip hinge, let's say, to understand how to keep the barbell against your body, and how to propulsate it, and how to catch it with your arms. So you first learn arm mechanic, and then more kind of the hip hinge, and then slowly you go down below the knees. But for the first few sessions, you don't go below knees.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see someone that teaches, especially in CrossFit boxes, teaches first place from the ground or below the knees, you know immediately that this person does not know shit about Olympic weightlifting.
Mm-hmm. So this means learning a specific lift, it's of uttermost importance to break the lift down in specific partial movements before you learn a new movement pattern, because I think you said in the beginning Olympic weightlifting is strength training. You have to squat, you have to overhead squat and do basic stuff, but isn't it also learning a new movement pattern? So as you mentioned, if you see someone doing or who lets you do stuff from the bottom, it's a shitty coach, your words. And so it's of real importance to break the whole movement pattern down. So like break it down into little fractures. So you say, okay, first of all you do snatches from the block or something like that, and then you move backwards to the whole lift.
Yeah, this is more or less the strategy you use to teach the Olympic weightlifting movement. Basically, if you decompose an Olympic weightlifting, let's say the clean and jerk. So what is it? It is a kind of deadlift followed by a pull or kind of row, if you like. Then you fall under and you catch the bar. And you get up in the front squat position. So you have then a front squats, and then you propulse you jerk the bar over. So then it's a push press or it's a kind of overhead press made with speed. But yeah, if you think about it, this is the way.
So the approach is then
you have deadlifted, you have
yeah.
I mean you have yeah, if you look at it, it's you have deadlifted the bar, you have rolled the bar, squatted the bar, and then press it overhead.
So the idea is to strengthen specific parts of the body in this specific area you're then lifting. So in the context of, let's say, structural balance, is this the reason why you break down a whole movement into partial movements?
Yes, because you can strengthen body parts much more precisely, or overload some body parts. For example, if you look at the jerk, generally an athlete can do more if he does jerk from blocks, for example. So why? Because he doesn't have to clean the bar, to front squat it. So he already lost a lot of power and energy. Then he has to jerk it overhead. So it's it's tiring. It's really the more difficult. So if you split, if you break down and you isolate only exercises, you can overload some body parts or strengthen them.
Mm-hmm.
And and this greatly differs from nation to nation. For example, if you look at Chinese system or Russian system, or they don't work the same way. They both are good, but they don't work the same way.
Mm-hmm. And why would you not recommend, I mean, for a total newbie that has no background in strength training and respectively Olympic weightlifting, why wouldn't you just let someone do a clean and jerk or a snatch and then, so the full movement, and then do a screening and say, okay, your weak point is here and there, and then correct it? Why would you in advance break the movement down and say, okay, at first you start from do I don't know, clean and jerk from a block or something like that?
Okay, so first it's very if you look at the outside, it's easy to think that okay, you just have to pull the bar and you clean it to your clavicle and that's it. It's much more complicated. There are so many little movements and coordination of upper and lower limbs. This is even if it's on the same plane, you have to be super coordinated. This is much more difficult than what it looks. So if you teach someone, for example, from the bottom or directly the full movement, he won't be able to understand.
Mm-hmm. So it's a kind of
this is almost impossible.
Information overflow. Is it that? Because it's not only because you have also to break down the movement not only physically but also mentally. It would be a information overflow.
Yeah, but probably. And your brain won't know how to make you perform this. It doesn't have the connection, the coordination, the timing. Everything has to be understood before doing the full movement.
Mm-hmm.
And this is you can learn this only by splitting body parts or some just partial movement, like only the arm pull to understand and the hip extension at the same time. So you understand how to create force and to use your arm in coordination with your hip extension and so on. So at first your brain, it's like your first time you get on a bar in a bench press. The bar just you can do it, but it's much less complex. But you can notice that the bar moves in some way that you don't want, but your brain doesn't know how to recruit properly muscular fiber, intramuscular and intermuscular. There are two kind of coordination or muscular coordination within the same muscle, and between other muscle that are involved in the movement. So it's like if you try to, if you have I don't know, three guys try to push a car on the road that is dead, and there are three guys, and they try to push the car once after each other. This won't produce much results, but if coordinates effort at the same time, this will produce a much better effort. And this is the same for the body. The first time it doesn't know how to fully recruit the muscle fiber within one muscle, and between, and how to coordinate to time precise contraction and decontraction between the other muscle that are involved in the movement. So yeah.
So this makes sense, but let's get a step back. Would you say that the speed of learning Olympic weightlifting moves is dependent on the speed of your cerebral capacity of understanding a movement, or is it more a pure physical thing? Because now you have explained it from a physical point of view, that you say, okay, it's like a kid that learns to ride a bike with this assistant wheels, and the first time, so it can drive the wheel. It's a bit unstable, but it learns, okay, I cannot fall. But when you remove the assistant wheels, the kid has to learn, or the central nervous system of the kid has to learn a new movement pattern, because it says, okay, if I lean too much left or right, I will fall over. That's what you explained with the bench press. So would you say that learning Olympic movements is dependent on the speed of how fast you can learn internally, cerebral capacity to learn and understand, okay, I have to do this to accelerate, I have to do that, or is it more a physical thing that you say, okay, you have to learn, for example, at an early age, because you need a certain amount of from your vestibular system coordination?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know a lot about those cerebellum, etc. Part of the brain and how it works. I actually am digging in it. So, but this could be an explanation. But I tend to think that it depends also on neurotransmitter profile. And if you look at the Olympic weightlifting style, most, and I don't say that all of them, but most of the athletes are acetylcholine dominant, or at least dopamine dominant. So there is problem, and this is an explosive sport. So you have to have this capacity to fire super fast, super quickly your muscle fiber. So this is also acetylcholine that does this. So I tend to, and acetylcholine is also involved in learning process and memorization and so on, and speed of transmission in the body and in the brain. So I tend to think so that if you have a good level of acetylcholine, you will tend to learn those movements faster than anyone else. But anyone can learn. Just some will take more time.
Mm-hmm. So this is the question, I think, or the approach with everything. I mean, everyone could learn Olympic weightlifting movements, but there are people who are born to it. Let's say you are a strength athlete, or you're more, let's say, of a muscular athlete, where you say, okay, you're not strength dominant. Let's say because you mentioned neurotransmitter. Let's say you're a dopamine or the acetylcholine dominant athlete, then you are prone more to strength and strength speed movements. And if you, let's say, more in serotonin or stuff like that, so you're more into maybe bodybuilding stuff, where you say, okay, you can go high reps, rather low intensity. So, but anyway, everyone can do it, but when you are not born as this type, you will never be world elite, but still you can get much better than you used to be.
Yeah, of course.
So and then would you say is it favorable if you learn Olympic weightlifting from an early age on? I mean, when you mentioned the Russians and the Asians, the Chinese especially. I mean, if you go to the world elite, those athletes have passed through a lot of let's say tests, because they only take the best of the best of the best from an early age on. So would you say it is? I mean, we have to think in principles. So would you say learning something, a sport like, especially weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, you will perform better if you have this background from early age on? Because let's say under the age of 12?
Yeah. I would say that it's like every sport. If you look at the gymnastic, skiing, I don't know, you will see that top performers have done this since very young age. Um, I'm I don't say that someone has to start very early, but if the person can learn this on an early age, this would be better. Because of course the brain is more modulable, and the learning process is still super. So I learn Olympic weightlifting at any age, but of course you will learn faster and benefit from it more if you do it early in your life.
Mm-hmm. Because you then won't have to unlearn a lot of faulty movement patterns you might have learned.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and even even if you don't practice weightlifting, then in competition, as I did, it will benefit. You will get benefit from practicing Olympic weightlifting if you do rugby, if you do soccer player, because you will be much more explosive, faster at changing direction, and so on. More resistant, more resilient in the field. So, yeah.
And this is something you will never unlearn.
If a young teenager, yeah, of course. If you don't practice for a while, you will need, of course, a little time to get back to it, especially because if you practice at the beginning of the teenage years, like 13, 14, your body has changed in terms of size. You know the movement, but you have registered it with the size you had at that time. So this is why this is actually an interesting point. Why you see most of the time girls at age 13, 14, sometimes they perform better than guys, because they peak much younger, so they are almost physically they're almost women, and tends to get the testosterone spike at 17 or something like this, 17, 18, 20. So this is where they get bigger. So because they are growing, their body size is constantly changing, and so they are lazy, tired, and less precise than girls at the same age, because generally girls have their growth. So if you learn any sports, then for a guy, I mean, around 15 years old, chances are that at 25 or 30 you will be a little bit different. Even if you're not much taller, you will have much more muscle mass, bone density, and so on, which makes the whole kinetic movement change. So.
Okay, this makes sense, even from or especially from the hormonal point of view, because as you mentioned, when you're going through puberty and your teenage years, you will start releasing much more of, for example, as a guy, testosterone or estrogen as a woman, and this will ultimately affect your complete hormonal level, especially your neurotransmitter production, and your brain dictates your physical, I mean, the glands who secrete those hormones react to your brain chemistry. Okay, super interesting.
Yeah.
Now, let's say if someone is interested in working with you, can you tell us a little bit about how working with you looks like? So if someone, because you mentioned you're not only working as an Olympic weightlifting coach, but also as a strength coach. So if someone, how can we imagine working with you looks like? What are the typical clients you work with? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so typical clients are generally, with Mr. and Mrs. Joe and Jane, I would say. Average person who has a job that take a lot of time, and they don't train a lot, and they just want to be in a better shape, feel better, and just feel good. I would say that this is the bulk of my practice, and I think for most coaches this is the same. Some are very specialized in big teams, sports team, like in rugby or stuff like that. Most of us deal with mostly average people. But I have few athletes also, and this is always good for a coach, so you can apply some special techniques. How it looks like. We generally get a first appointment where I give some basic anamnesis to quote a term in the Heilpraktiker or naturopathic field. This allows me to see where the stress level are at, to see if there are any injuries or any surgeries. Basic stuff, not as deeper as it could in Heilpraktiker consultation or in a naturopathic or consultation, but this allow me to have a nice picture of and where to start. And I generally do then a physical assessment just to see if there are restrictions or not, where they are, and to see how yeah, how to plan first session or first weeks of training. And then generally it depends on the budget, but some people can train a few times a week. Some it's only once or twice a month, but I deliver then a program, and we get in regularly. We do feedback at least once every 3 weeks. So,
Mm-hmm. So,
this
and
is basically how I work.
mm-hmm. So, and would you say that what is the core concept if you work with? I just say athlete. For me, everyone is an athlete. If it's someone who's, I don't like expressions like weekend warrior. So everyone is an athlete, but due to some degree. So, what is the core concept when you work with someone? So, would you say you say, okay, no, you have to do Olympic weightlifting, or is it just when that you say, okay, according to your assessment, you say, okay, look, you have a weak shoulder retraction and you have a suboptimal knee flexion or stuff like that, and then you give people what they need, or is it more that you say, okay, it's more of just looking good, or do you still say, look, okay, you can look good but still have suboptimal movement pattern? I mean, what's the point of looking good, but if you cannot squat and bend your knees properly, or if you have misalignment in your posture and stuff like that? So would you say your core concept is of fixing people on a physical level, or is it more the, let's say, to look good naked?
Yeah, no, this is much more. This is much more to help them to get structured physically, to have to be balanced, and to help move better and so on. Generally, looking better comes because of getting stronger and moving better, feeling
Mm-hmm.
better, sleeping better, and so on.
So it's a
So
holistical
yeah,
approach. Yeah.
yeah. If you think about it, it's more a holistical approach. But I really think that nowadays a coach um, has to be has to have kind of holistical approach, um, at least in one or two supplemental field other than strength training. Stretching can be good nutrition skills, um, can be aromatherapy, um, knowledge, and so. Because you can help much more your client. The value goes up. So you don't just deliver a training plan or a training session. You actually impact the life in a much deeper way.
Mm-hmm. So if you address, let's say, life, what's it called, lifestyle factors. So I mean, what's the point of telling someone you gotta lose some weight if he or she has a terrible sleep, or is eating lots of crappy stuff? I mean, so I would totally agree with this approach.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
yeah, and I was just thinking. Of course, if you eat crap all the time, you won't feel good. But sometimes it's a combination of several small stuff. People don't regularly they eat transformed food, processed food. They go they bed on time, or they expose themselves to blue lights too late in the day, and so on, and don't move. But when they start to move a little bit more, they also they know that they have to eat better. So even if it's not perfect, first step, and to quote our early mentor Charles Poliquin, progression over perfection. So I prefer someone that starts to eat a little bit more regularly and to train a little bit than nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, this improves step by step.
And I think it's much more easy or convenient for someone who hasn't trained at all and just wants to get and start somewhere. You just have to do what you can with the tools you have. I mean, this is you because if you change everything, the more you change, the harder it is to stick to the program. If you go from 0 to 100, so this will be more hard to stick to the program, and from my experience at least, clients would rather skip the program than, let's say, you say, okay, step by step. Okay, interesting. So
and I have seen this so many times. People to coach, now I don't do anything since months, and now I want to train 5 times a week, and I'm super motivated. I say, okay. Let's start with 3 times a week, and then within 1 month or 2 months, we see how you progress, and if you're still motivated, then we can increase a little. Because my first, I think some of my first clients asked me this. I want to train 5 times, and then you see after 2-3 weeks that they can't follow the because they're tired and it's too too complicated, and so it's better to start slow and to improve day by day than starting with the top thing for 2 weeks and then you collapse because you just you're just not used to do all the stuff, cooking your meals in advance, eating mindfully, slowly, without any Wi-Fi, scheduling your training time, and so on. So this can be overwhelming. So
I think this is a very important point, because I have been telling clients and patients this exactly the same, because so your approach is, and I think, do you agree with that, that it's more important to do something regularly than doing as you said, being super motivated, and let's say, hey, I gotta work out 5 times a week, twice a day, and then you keep this high level up, but then you realize, okay, this is super stressful, and I have a life to live, and the workout program has to fit into the life, and then they stop it, and they say, okay, I tried it and it doesn't work. But so it's better to do, let's say, twice a week, and do it a year regularly than doing 5 times a week and, let's say, keeping this up for 6 weeks.
Yeah, definitely, because you even if you do only twice a week serious training, very dedicated, within a year you will achieve something. But if you do super training 5 times a week for 1 month, then maybe you have a lot of progression. Or of course, if you do something more, you progress more or more often. But then if you do this just for 1 month, then the rest of the year you lost.
Yeah, I mean,
so I prefer doing something regularly than doing everything at once and then collapsing because it is too much and you are not used to.
And and it could be dangerous. I mean, this is the same like buying a 30-year-old car that has been standing in the garage for 30 years, and you say, okay, I just put on new tires, and then you go and pedal to the metal, full throttle, 200 kilometers on the autobahn, and then you're surprised that you say, oh shit, the engine blew through the hood, and yeah, this would be the same analogy. And okay, super. And so, what would you say? What do you know that everyone in the, let's say, fitness or strength coach or Olympic weightlifting scene should do, but is not doing? So, what would be your advice to say from your expertise that you say, okay, I say this and I tell this and teaches everyone, I knew it and I observed this, but nobody's doing it. But from your expertise, everyone should do.
Well, yeah, it's a tricky question. It could be, I mean, if no one does it, I don't have anything in mind that no one does it at all.
Or let's say the average, yeah.
Very few do it. Is postural and strength balance assessment. This is not done on a regular basis.
So they train suboptimal. Let's say you have a too strong. I don't know, too strong bench press in correlation or in relation to your behind the neck press, something like that. So that they don't have optimal strength levels. Yeah.
Yes, and very few coaches do this. They just say, oh, okay, how are your I don't know, your front squat, your back squat, your pull, your deadlift, your blah blah. Oh, okay, it seems to be. Sorry, it seems to be balanced. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really assess nor look at postural stuff.
Just because they not good and definitely. Not. What's the reason from your point? Just because they don't know, so or because they say it is worthless.
I think no, it is really important because if you train on a I would say a severe imbalance, then you can hurt yourself and progress will be slower. This is this is not time efficient, and you can hurt yourself or your clients if you're a coach. So. This is problematic, but I think the main reason is they are not trained in those fields. Most of coaches don't do a lot of how do we say extra education.
Mm-hmm.
Like how to program design properly, stuff like kinetic chain assessment. Postural stuff, eye and brain assessment and corrective exercises, and so on and so on.
So this is
I think.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the extra education or continuing education. This was the word I was looking for. So continuing education. Most of coaches don't do enough continuing education, and this is a big mistake. If I look at my own way, I think when I was in a sports university, this was cool because I learned how to look at studies, how to criticize, how to think and how to look for details and stuff like this. But actually, I learned much more after when I did continuing education than what I learned in sports science. And of course, in the field, you learn a lot in the field. Some coaches, for example, one of the former trainer in my weightlifting club when I was a teenager had no degree at all and nothing in strength training, but he was involved in this gym since his very young age too. So he knew, guys. He knew how they move, how you squat, how you do this. He can tell you, okay, your front squat is too low compared to your clean, compared to your this, compared to you. And he was doing the assessment. At his manner, I would say that it was not super well performed in a super protocol, etc. But he knew, he has the experience, and he knew how the body works, and how the lifts have to be in relation to other lifts, and so on. So yeah, I think continuing education is the best, and the point is that in the field you learn a lot.
Yeah, would totally agree. So from my own experience, I think the problem with let's say problem with university is that it puts out or creates a lot of content, but it's questionable how good content is if you don't put it into context. So with context being the knowledge, experience out of the trenches. I mean, you can write a book about how to use a barbell and describe biomechanically very well how much force a biceps contraction creates, yeah. But and then do a test. But if the test is on an isometric biceps machine or something, it has absolutely none relation to everyday sports. Yeah. So I think this is a bit of the drop off or the downside. I mean, it's not a real downside because we need this research, but if you cannot use it, it is just information that it's just like if we would talk in a language we both don't know. So we could put out a lot of information, but we could not use any of this information. Yeah? So okay, so what would you say is, from your point of view, the most underrated exercise?
In general?
Yeah, for strength training. I mean, we're not talking about if you're a marathon runner or something like that. So I would say in strength training, what is the most underrated one from your expertise people should do but are not doing?
I will quote two.
Mm-hmm.
Say that the behind the neck press, generally, it's seated mostly, but generally the behind the neck press is not done enough because it had a bad rap because of this its anatomical particularity. But it's like everything. There is no dangerous exercise. There is only overuse. And I think the behind the neck press is a great exercise if you can do it. If you can't, this is why you have to assess first if the client just cannot rotate the arm. So you have to fix this first, and then we'll be able to perform such exercises. And the other exercise would be the Turkish get-up.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really underrated.
Mm-hmm. Why?
And more should do it on a regular basis because it teaches the body to move under a load. And this is to quote the School of Strength, Strong First, led by Pavel Tsatsouline. It is a loaded yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen some impressive increase in performance in non-specific exercise, just doing this exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Quite
Okay.
impressive, and I think more people should do it.
Which will lead to the next question. That is, what is, from your point of view, the most overrated exercise or overrated exercises, if you want to name more, that you see people doing and you would see, okay, this is, you can do it. I mean, you can do any exercise, but the question always is, will this be something that gives you an advantage, or is it just for fun? Yeah, I mean, you can do at the end of a workout 3 sets of an ab exercise if it's fun, but the question is, do you need it?
Yeah, maybe surprisingly, but I would say the barbell bench press. Depending on the context, that puts a context. It can be a good exercise when everything is balanced and so, but in a bodybuilding field or fitness field, it's way overrated. If you look at the electromyography study, it doesn't recruit much the back compared to the same lift with dumbbell, for example, or in an incline machine or something like this. Actually, the heavier you go, the more triceps and front delt you recruit. So I think this is an overrated exercise because it's done on the wrong purpose and with the wrong structural balance, or with no structural balance.
And the lack of,
I would say
it also has a lack of transfer effect, because if you compare it to sports, the movement you learn in the flat bench press is most often not transferred into a sport, except, let's say, you want to accelerate a bobsled or something like that.
Yeah, or even for example in judo. In judo, if you are like this, you can sometimes okay, nowadays they don't go on the ground very often. They just stop the fight, but yeah, this is still a predictor lift in judo, for example. So yeah, it has some advantages, but again, if you perform at top level in judo, you're I think so. You are kind of balanced. At least you are not that disbalanced.
Okay, so very interesting. We're heading to the end of the interview, but I still have 3 questions left I want to ask you. And
yeah, fire.
So it is in the context, let's say, or you can say either in general or related to strength training, but I'm always interested in book recommendations. So I would ask you, what is the most or the 2 most important books you have read in the last 5 years?
I have read quite some good books, but I would say that one was on nutritional field, and I would quote the Dave Asprey book, Headstrong, or even the Bulletproof Diet. But I was of all the toxins that can affect us, even in plant or vegetables, and this was a game changer for me. This was a really important book I have read, and I really recommend it. It can sound or look like a bit not fancy, but how I would say, maybe a bit mainstream, but it is actually full of very good information. So, and also it made me aware of mold toxicity, and mold contamination, and so, which is super underrated.
Okay, we'll put this in the show notes. So.
Uh-huh.
So people can buy the book. So, and the next question is, if you could go back to the beginning of your own strength coach, respectively weightlifting or lifting career, in order to change one thing from the beginning, when you say, I mean, of course, we all know that if you would go, or if I would go to my 13-year-old version, this version would not be able to understand. But if you could teach yourself something in terms of in the context of or strength training or let's say general health, what would be the one thing you would apply more or do different from the beginning if you had the knowledge you have now?
I think this would be start offering your service right away. Because for a very long time I was afraid, not afraid, maybe, but maybe afraid, but I was thinking that I didn't have enough knowledge
Mm-hmm.
to start to train people. Even after my degree, and which is true to some degree, but you're always learning, and yeah, I was hesitating for a very long time to offer my service as an independent coach because I thought I should knew more.
Mm-hmm.
But you can enter the game.
Yeah, but I think this is
you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, as you said, progression over perfection, and I think this is the the thing with every good coach or everyone. It doesn't matter the field someone is working in. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect. I think the more you learn, the more you have the feeling that you don't know anything. So, okay. So, don't be paralyzed would be your recommendation. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, correct. You summed it up perfectly.
Okay, so and then in the end, how can people find you or contact you? So online, offline, do you have a platform people can find you? So I will put this in the show notes or somewhere on Instagram or.
Yeah, mostly on Instagram. My friend Bernd advised me to build a website, and I agreed, but but did not build any websites. But yeah, I should work on it. So right now, either by email or through Instagram. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Yeah, well, I will also put this in the show notes for you guys who are listening right now or watching the video. You can find all the info about Mehdi in the description of the video. Well, so this was a super interesting interview, and I really thank you for it. But well, let's keep it for the first episode to 60 minutes. So, and yeah, I would say, yeah, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup for taking the time and answering all my nerdy questions about strength training. And yeah, in the end, I always say thanks for watching and listening. I wish you all an energetic time, and yeah, till the next time. Anything you want to say? You have the last word.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bernd, for inviting me on your show, and thank you guys for watching.